On behalf of the Pickering Football Club, we are proud to welcome and announce the signing of our League One men's head coach, Aleks Balta, and our League One women's head coach, Dmitri Ovtchinnkov. I'll pass it over to Aleks first, and then Dmitri for their opening remarks before we jump into questions.
Thanks for having me. I first want to thank Pickering Football Club, along with Dave Benning, Corrado, Rocco Silva, Richie Jin, and Chris Rivette for appointing me and giving me their trust in League One going forward. And I relish the opportunity, and I'm excited about the upcoming season.
Yeah, just want to piggyback on Aleks' remarks. It's basically a very exciting time for the league, going into a new format, and very exciting time for the Pickering Football Club. Very excited to be part of this organization. Thanks for accepting me as a head coach. Looking forward to work with the club and all coaches within the club.
Could you guys both touch on what your plans and ambitions are for the team this upcoming season? And Dmitri, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, basically, as I mentioned, that's a new phase of League One going into 2024 into a promotion relegation format. So it's evident that we need to fight for the points and need to fight for the position in the league, because ultimately we want to be in 2024 in the top division. This is like a long-term goal, but we are currently in the recruiting phase. So I think we would like to reassess and reevaluate the personnel we're going to get. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think we just need to get back, evaluate, and see what we can achieve with the team. But for the team, my ultimate goal is to have players excited, be enthusiastic to play for Pickering Football Club, and they want to see everyday progress. So by the end of the summer, they need to feel that they got better, and that will be the tool for us to attract more players committing to the Pickering Football Club.
Aleks?
Yeah, to bridge off what Dmitri said, so with the promotion relegation, obviously results and doing well this coming year is very important. What I can say on the men's side is we're going to look to play very entertaining football while achieving results. We're going to have a mix of youth, U20, U23 players, along with some veterans, and with the having the wealth of talent in Pickering and the Durham region, I'm excited about the players we're bringing in to help them improve and hopefully move on to higher levels, whether it's CPL or beyond. And finally, this season, we look to make a push to make the playoffs.
Aleks, can you just touch on your past experience being a League One coach and the feeling of returning to the League One?
Yeah, so in 2019 was my first year. I did it with North Mississauga. It was a great experience. We were able to make the playoffs, and we won the Mississauga Credit Valley Cup. So it was a successful year in that regard. The league is a little even more exciting now going forward with the talks of, we've already spoke about promotion relegation, but also I think the level of the league is going to be very high, where anyone can beat any team on any given day, and I just love that kind of league setup where you're going to have to work and be organized and really grind out every result to get your points. So really excited about that.
Dmitri, how are your feelings about embarking on your first job as a League One head coach?
Yeah, it's first it's exciting, but I feel some pressure as well. I'm very familiar with League One, and I'm very familiar with the players that are playing in League One because I had a chance. So I worked with the women's 2004, 5, 2002, and 2001. So that's the age group that probably comprises the core of many teams right now. Being part of the provincial coaching staff, I had a chance to go and scout clubs and teams. so I've seen the players, I'm familiar with the players, but it's definitely a big step from youth soccer to the senior level. And I feel confident that my experience and education I gained through these years will help me to make this step.
If you could both point on, or actually point, how the importance of youth and local development is to you, and your impressions of Pickering FC as a club.
So first off, it's paramount to have a strong youth core in your squad. Spoke about having U20, U23 players, and to build a foundation with those players for the coming years. We will have veterans, we'll have it mixed in, but those players that are in the U20, U23 setup, they're eventually going to become the veterans to help the new young players. So it's essential to use them. Pickering in the Durham region, as I said, has a wealth of talent. So we are lucky that we can use our own to be successful. And then along with Pickering FC's continuous growth of developing players in the coming years, I'm excited about having those players come into the squad and play for the first team.
First thing about my impression of Pickering Football Club, I already mentioned a few things before. One thing that really impresses me in the coaching staff is that all personnel works together as a team, everybody helping each other. High-level professionalism and good attitude. And I can see that's a good reflection on the players, because players, not only they're good players, but they're also good kids. You can see when you communicate with them how they behave, how they interact. So it's a true reflection, obviously, of parents, but of the coaching staff as well. And one more thing that impresses me in Pickering Football Club is the programs that club has for all abilities and special need kids. So this is the huge contribution to the community. Without thinking of, obviously Pickering has a long history and successful history of developing high-level players, but that aspect often overlooked by other clubs. And for me, it's very impressive thing that Pickering is doing this for the community. Yeah. Now, the reality of the league, again, I couldn't tell the numbers. Majority of the League One teams, they're affiliated with the universities. So their recruiting process, I would say their season is either continuation of their university season or their pre-season. Their recruiting process, it's a bit simplified, because if you're part of university, you are invited by the coach to play League One. So we are not the team that affiliated with the university. We're working closely with the universities to bring the alumni back to Pickering Football Club to play. But we have to rely on development of local youth players to bring them through the ranks, senior or PDL year to League One reserve, and then to League One to compete. And that's what we're currently focusing on our recruiting process for women's program. We are focusing on primarily of Pickering players that played before on Durham United and Pickering Football Club, and we're trying to make them interested to come back and play for us.
Aleks, is there anything you've taken away from your judo experiences that have helped you in your coaching career?
Yeah. So in my time, I think you pointed out, I won 3 nationals as a youth, and I had to adjust a lot during those tournaments, specifically the first one. And I take that experience in terms of being able to adjust and adapt is so important. And I use that in my approach with coaching. You have an idea how you want to play, and you stick to your philosophies, but at the same time, you got to be able to adjust and adapt to give your team the best chance to win in that specific game or period of time in relation to where your team is from a development standpoint. And lastly, I did definitely had some setbacks while I was competing at that level. Major losses that really hurt me. But from that experience, I learned how to take those hits and move forward in a positive way, and I apply that to how I coach and when we do hit setbacks, moving forward, and yeah, in a positive way.
Dmitri, how could your experience in futsal help your team in your coaching this year?
I think futsal, first of all, it's very exciting, entertaining game, very fast pace. But if we look at the rules, equipment, the number of players, it's a completely different game. I've been practicing futsal with my youth teams, obviously to develop players. And to develop players, you can use different games. Like you're playing basketball, it's also developing the kind of the game inside. So overall, you're developing a player. But if you look at the higher level, that's becoming a segregation of the specialization. Futsal, it's very specialized. It's different demands on the technique, like player's profile. While 11v11, it's a completely different game. You can, in my opinion, you can use futsal at the youth level, but getting to the higher level, and especially when you're focusing and in a very short amount of time, you need to bring the team together. You need to be focusing on more 11v11 specific exercises and focus on that aspect.
This next question is for both of you, but we'll start with Aleks. I was wondering if you could touch on reasons for taking this head coaching role with Pickering.
Yeah, so first coming back, because I think I forgot to answer, but my first impression of Pickering, which goes into what, taking the role, is super organized, professional, passionate club. You can see it when you walk through the door here, in terms of, just the layout, the personnel involved. Even where we are sitting right now, it's leaps and bounds above many others. So that was my, that tied into my decision, as well as, when you have the individuals I mentioned previously, like Dave, Crotto, Richie, and Chris behind you, it makes the decision a lot easier because they're such great people and such professional people. And finally, with the talent, like I spoke about, the talent in the city and in the Durham area, it's just a recipe for success. And as you look at Pickering FC, and I gotta say, the logos, the crest is one of the best I've seen. So that's a little small detail, but it's nice. But when you look at the club, it's just an upward trajectory, and I'd love to be part of that success.
Dmitri?
Yeah, just to add to Alex's comments, I think overall the professionalism of the organization, even interviewing process with Chris and Richie, it was very exciting. I think that's how I would imagine the interviews going with the professional coaches. That's what they're supposed to go through, I guess. And then we coming to the club at the point. Even club had previous success with the League One teams, but we're coming at the point where we're kind of starting everything from scratch. It's a very exciting time. We're building teams from ground zero, and this is very, very exciting, and I'm very thankful that leadership believed in me and hired me as a head coach.
Great. And last question here for the both of you. So you both studied mathematics at university. Is there any relationship between math and soccer? Or
you want to go first?
No, you start first.
Yeah, definitely. I think, just from a probability side, when cost-benefit comparison. You try to perform actions that are going to generate, most likely generate a positive outcome. So the way you organize yourself is, has a probability mindset right from the get-go. And then as well as from the kind of the statistical side, using analytics, you use that to help, form your better understanding of your performance and where you can improve, and as well as potentially developing new trends that maybe you weren't aware of.
Yeah, basically when you talk math and sport, everything, the first thing comes to your mind is like that moving money ball, right? When you can just assemble the team based on the stat and the team is going to win the league. Apparently it was a true story, but realistically sometimes it's very difficult to rely only on the stat. But this is very important. The trend of modern game is you basically have to use stat. You have to use all the computer analysis, all the math analysis, use the data to analyze the individual player performance, in team performance, and as Aleks mentioned, just to develop the deficiencies and form your trends. But I often used to say, if you think about the soccer game as the chess game with the fuzzy logic where your piece is moving, but actually when you're moving from point A to point B, it's not actually, it could be like mistake on the end and you might not be able to achieve that move. And everything played at the high pace. So it's kind of fuzzy chess game at the high pace where the players' pieces can get tired and can make mistakes. So like let's say you're almost like ready to make this move, but in the soccer game you just miss the target, and it's not achievable. So having said that, as a coach, you're basically breaking down the games into phases of play. You determine the parameters of the system. You're highlighting the positive and negative outcomes, and basically for every phase of the play, it's your kind of model of play. The goal is to get the players on the same page so they understand what needed to be done in a particular phase of the play, step of the play, and if everybody understands the priorities and outcomes, the ranking of the outcomes, then it's becoming your model of play. And I think also comes to my mind that John Herman comments like, okay, we just want to play high impact, low risk pass. So basically it's highlighting of the risks. So what's the low risk pass? What's the risk in the game? And then what's the high impact pass? Do we need to break the line to play in behind so the player to turn? So it's formalized kind of mathematical model of the game. And I think in future, obviously we see that in the games, like FIFA or whatever, 2021, the game is simulated fairly accurately. So in future, I think mathematical models will be heavily used in training. I'm not saying that I use all these models, but I'm kind of thinking about this and trying to understand what can be done to improve the performance of the team.
What's the importance of growing the male and the female game at the same time together, and the impact that it can have in communities and on the national stage as well? How important is it to grow those two together?
Do you want me to go first?
I think it's like I can say. I think it's FIFA and UEFA standards for licensing of the clubs that the female game should be on par with the male. But again, in Canada, female game may be a little bit advanced than just on the guys' side. And in Canada, if you're like serious club, you have to show commitment in both programs. I think.
Yeah, just bridge off what Dmitri said. You look at what is PFC. PFC runs male and female programs, right, from grassroots all the way up. So I think without having that kind of first team for both genders, you're not really completing the pyramid as a club. So I think it's essential. And you look at our Canadian women, most recently, won the Olympics, which is huge. So the women's game is strong here, and it has to go along with the men's. And together, I think you just show a unified club that has a pathway for everybody.
Fantastic. Well, Dmitri, Aleks, thanks for your time today. Again, I'd like to welcome you to the Pickering Football Club, and good luck in the upcoming season.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.